So anyway, so then the chicken did cross the road, and got to his side, and it was fine.
I want to welcome everyone to our second webinar for the 1920 academic year. We have, I personally, I'm Deidre, and I am the one that emails everybody. Christine is the person that you email about your logs, any of your financial reimbursement requests and all that. And this is Chris. He will be presenting the tech tools for teaching today, the fun stuff. But I'm first going to go through some information regarding your first quarter logs and some things that I noticed that we need to kind of fix. I know that Christine is sending out a request for everyone to do a roll call and type into the comment box your district and the name of anyone who is with you attending the webinar so that we can get an accurate count on the number of participants. With that, keeping time in mind, we're going to go ahead and get started. So the first, like I said, the first thing we're going to do is go over the grant requirements and review some of the information that I have seen in the log so far. So the mentor teacher training requirements are to attend 4 of the webinars. Today is your second one, so you can mark that off the list. Please put January 15th and March 11th of 2020 on your calendar. Those are the next ones, and the statewide advisory, which is also via webinar, will be on March 13th of 2020. You are also required to attend 1 of 2 statewide trainings. The first one is coming up in November. I believe I have 12 to 13 people signed up so far. That's in Rancho Las Palmas. It starts the night before the K-Rock conference, the fall CTE conference. So if you haven't signed up yet and you are local, you might want to sign up for that one. Otherwise, you'll need to attend the one that will be in Sacramento on March 9th of 2020. You will also need to complete your mentor training modules, and that's all of the ones under mentor training on CTE Online. And you can place a copy of the certificate in the folder in Google Drive or email it to me, whichever one is more convenient, because I know we were having some issues with the addition of documents into some of those folders. Okay, there are some things everyone needs to keep in mind as far as what the requirements for the grant are. As far as mentoring, it's required that there are quarterly workshops held. That's something that I noticed was deficient on the first quarter reports. However, I still have districts that haven't entered anything into their logs. That date is coming in really soon. It's October 31st. We need all of that documentation. You need to provide one-on-one time with teachers, whether that's by phone, email, or in person. Provide any support or assistance that's needed, and provide guidance and resources such as instructional methodologies, teaching and student engagement, lesson planning development, school policies, procedures, record-keeping requirements, and you're to serve as a professional role model. You are also supposed to do the MOU states quarterly observations. However, it's been updated, and you can make sure that you do observations with feedback once a semester. Reviewing the logs that I've received so far, I don't see very many observations with feedback. I see a lot of walkthroughs. So if it is an observation, please state that on your log and maybe state the topic of the lesson or the teaching strategies or engagement strategies you observed your mentee using in the classroom. As far as administrative duties or the things that you need to take care of for the grant, you need to make sure you're logging your activities, providing a brief but detailed description. All activities must be related to mentoring new CTE teachers. They shouldn't be trainings that you have attended. That doesn't count. Or any training that you've done online. That doesn't count either, unless it was your CTE mentor training that you've done online. Those you can count hours for those. You need to accurately calculate the time and notify your administrator when your log is complete for the quarter. There is also a mentor info sheet in there, which I'll show you on the next slide. It has a section for you to list your mentees, and then there's some questions at the bottom you need to answer. And lastly, you need to submit accurate and timely travel reimbursement forms with all the required documentations to your administrator. Now for our training next month coming up, I actually have a link to that form in one of the slides. So we will share this presentation with you, and you'll be able to access that through those links. Just so you know, as far as Q1 goes, what I have been doing is going through and putting comments on any of the logs that are deficient in details or times, or they don't have their signatures. And I'll show you an example of that in the next slide. But some of the things that I noticed that weren't in them were workshops. I think I saw like one workshop held out of all the districts that are participating in the CTE TEACH grant. So I'm hoping that if you didn't get it done first quarter, that maybe second quarter you'll have 2, so that at the end of the year you can still demonstrate that you've had your 4 workshops. There's a lack of details. I did see some things that would just say walk through, or just a couple words, which I would put a comment on there and ask for more. Start and end times do not match the total time claimed. So you need to make sure if you put 1 to 3 over here, that you put 2 hours on the other side, so that those equal. Activities that do not relate to CTE teachers. So like I had mentioned before, if it's a training that you've completed, or you went to a PD outside of what CTE TEACH provides, those aren't claimable on the CTE TEACH grant. I didn't note any quarterly observations, and please make sure that you are using Q2 now. As of October 1st, you should be entering all your activities into the second quarter. I know that today I had somebody message me and tell me that the Q2 was locked and they weren't able to access it. However, I believe I've opened all those up, and if you haven't been able to get in there, please let me know and I'll adjust that. Are there any questions? Any questions from anybody? This is my last little slide before I turn it over to Chris for the fun stuff. No, it's fun. Some of it's fun. Okay, so these are your reminders. Our fall statewide mentor training, let's get down to mentoring, will be held November 20th. I know that there was an issue with the first flyer that I sent out that said October 20th, but when you click on the link, it does state November 20th. That is in Rancho Las Palmas. If you haven't registered and you plan on registering, please do so as soon as possible. We have shared that with some other school districts, which they can attend the event, they just don't get reimbursed for participating in the event, and they don't get travel reimbursed. But I do want to make sure that we have a full house, because we always have more than enough room and more than enough food. So if you're wanting to get into this one, please make sure you register as early as possible. The travel document for the November training can be found at this link, and they will also be available at the event, so you can get it there, or you can print it out in advance and bring it with you. But make sure you read it thoroughly and attach any of the required documentation to ensure that you get reimbursed in a timely manner. Real quick, I wanted to go over some good examples and bad examples of our logs. This one here is a sample of a teacher log, and you'll notice they have some information in here. They have a description: planning meeting for curricular workshop, lesson planning, differentiated instruction, so it gives some details. And then when you're done with yours and it totals, you need to make sure you put your name at the bottom, you put the date, and that you check the box. This mouse is acting weird. This is the mentor info sheet. You would need to make copies of all these to use them. I think most of you have done that so far, but you include your mentors' names and how long they've taught. And there are some questions at the bottom that need to be answered. I know that some people have went through and put all their mentor information in there. However, they didn't answer the questions. So if you could please fill those questions out as well, I'd appreciate it. Did I click it? Sorry. This is the administrator log. So as far as administrator goes, the types of things that are claimable are preparing the quarterly logs, attending planning meetings for workshops, or conferencing with one of the mentor teachers regarding issues with a mentee. Those would all be claimable. However, going to a meeting at the district office to talk about CTE in general is not necessarily a claimable activity for the CTE TEACH grant, because it has to do with mentoring. This one here is the quarterly report. These two numbers should match any of the mentor sheets, any of the mentor logs, so that we can have a total for the quarter for the district. And this would be your administrator that's going to put their name and sign off on that. No. I wanted to show you this one because some of you may have gotten in there and realized that you have a bunch of yellow highlights. And I did have a comment in here earlier, but I think it may have disappeared. Yeah, because we didn't want to resolve this one yet. We want to reopen this. So if you'll note at the bottom tab, you'll see that 1, and it has a little like, what do you call those? Little comment bubbles?
Box.
Comment box. That means that your sheet has a comment on it. So if you go in there and anything that is highlighted in yellow, there will be comments. And you can see here, this one was originally written up. It says, ask for more details. What's the topic of the webinar? What did you observe in the classroom walkthrough? Like, what kind of teaching strategies or engagement strategies was the teacher using? What was the topic of the lesson? You'll see this one here, it just says differentiated instruction. That leaves a lot to the imagination. Did you go to a training for differentiated instruction, which wouldn't necessarily be claimable to CTE Teach? Or did you provide training on differentiated instruction? Or did you observe differentiated instruction in one of your mentees' classrooms? So the more information that you provide, the better. I don't need mentees' names on this form. It's just more to collect data on what kind of things you're observing in the classrooms, and it'll help me gauge what kind of professional development would be most beneficial to the mentors and also to my first and second year teachers as well. So once you get in there and you've corrected anything that's been requested, you'll just click the resolve button. It sends me a message, and then I go in there and I look, and if everything looks good, I will remove all the highlights, and then it'll be good from there. So then it should be ready to be totaled up by your admin. And those are all the samples I have on there. However, if you're looking at yours and you're like, I'm not sure if that's right or not, you can always click on the link in here and see those samples for yourself. And just remember that the end of Q1 is October 31st. We need all of the paperwork, all of the logs, all the documentation by October 31st. We need the invoice that states how many hours total at $50 an hour, along with all of the logs to be correct and all those numbers to match. And as of October 1st, you should have started entering any information for Q2 in the Q2 log. And like I said, we did open those today. So if you have any problems with Q2, let me know. Any questions? Anybody have any questions? But Christopher is up next with his tech tools for teaching. I'm turning it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Deidre. So last year we did a poll, and a lot of the feedback we wanted was some teachers wanted to know more technology tools that are available for education. And so what I did was I went through and kind of pulled together some things I knew about, asked some questions of teachers and asked what they're using. And so this is going to be a lot of information, but we're going to send this out to you, and you'll be able to kind of recap it and go through it at your own pace. So cool. If you're ready to go, thumbs up. All right, so, okay, so there's three, there's one. Need that live interaction. So there's three areas that we're going to cover. One of them is going to be tools that really work well that the students can use in classrooms. Second one is some unknown Google tools that people may not know about, and the third one is some tools that help with teachers specifically. So we're going to dive into our first one. And this is going to be a tool that you can use in your classroom. And when Deidre and I went and presented a couple months ago, we use this in a lot of our presentations, which is called Mentimeter. And basically what this tool is, I'm going to click on this. And what this tool is this allows you to create an interactive presentation. And what you do is you can pose a question up for your students, and then the students can join the presentation. And we're gonna try this out really quick to see if this actually works. And so if you guys have a phone near you, or if you want to use your computer, try going to menti.com. You're going to type in this 3-digit code here, or a 6-digit code, I don't know what to say. And then just, what is your favorite candy or snack? And I'll give like a minute for you guys to try this. And hopefully we're going to see if this actually works across the entire state of California right now. We're going to put Menti to the test. To the test. Let's see, what is your favorite candy or snacks? Okay, there we go. Kit Kat bars, Reese's peanut butter cups, granola bars, another Reese's one, Almond Joys, very cool. Cheese, that's our healthy person there. Yay. Skittles, Almond Joys, that's chocolates, very cool. So this is essentially what a Mentimeter is you can, and what I chose for this one is I chose just a basic word cloud, but you can do like scrolling answers, you can do timelines, all sorts of different stuff, right? But so this is what a Mentimeter is, and let me kind of go back to this here. So yeah, so that's something you can use live in your classroom, and as you saw, we just did it from different locations. The next one is called, let me go back, is called Thrively, and this one I'm not going to click on, but what this is this is a free student assessment tool that teachers can give their students, and what it does is it tells the teacher how the student learns, like if they're into art, basically just what are their strengths. And as a teacher, I think it's valuable to know what kind of students you have in your classroom, and then this free assessment will tell you, like, this is how your student learns, this is what their interests are, and then as you're preparing your lessons, you kind of get a gauge, you know, what the basis of my students are.
And that would help with differentiating instruction to accommodate those different learning styles.
Definitely would help. And then and everything I'm showing you today is free. There are paid versions of this stuff. So Thrively has, the student assessment is free, but they do have a paid version that you can have, like the student can create goals and they can strive for it. And those goals don't just go for your class, it could go like over the entire duration of their education. And so it's just an awesome tool. This other one I'm going to show you is called Rewordify. And what this does is it basically takes text and it makes it simplified for somebody to understand. So something that I think is very complicated is the theory of relativity.
Of everything.
Okay, so I'm going to take this, and I'm just going to copy that real quick, and we're going to put it into Rewordify, paste it, and then ask it to rewordify this theory. And now it tells me, instead of the theory of relativity, it says the explanation of relativity usually includes two connected explanations of why things work or happen the way they do. So what's highlighted is basically it broke down the words and made them a little more simple for somebody to understand.
And it also says there, it says web page to simplify, so you might be able to put in the link to an entire web page.
Oh yeah, maybe. I haven't tried that.
Try that one?
But definitely. Is Padlet. We won't go into this, but basically Padlet is almost exactly like Mentimeter. It is basically an online bulletin board that you can have a question or you can post something for your students, and then students can put up videos, pictures, text, and they can just answer and just throw things up, and just everybody join in on that. So like I said, very similar to Mentimeter. You're the huge Padlet fan.
Just because there's more. You can pick a cute background and they can put pictures on there, where Mentimeter is more just words, like we want to answer to the question.
Right.
It's like a simple poll, where Padlet's a little more cute.
Yes. Like I said, it has a lot more variety than Mentimeter does. The next one we're going to look at is called Pear Deck. And I really wanted to do a Pear Deck with this, but for the sake of time, I thought it'd be better just for me to not include Pear Deck. But what Pear Deck is it allows you to take Google Slides and you can add interactive elements into it. So this kind of shows the Google slide there. You're adding that Pear Deck add-on to it. And then once it's in there, once you make this add-on to your Google slide, you can start adding in interactive questions that your students can follow along and answer. You can ask them, how well do you understand this? You can get a poll of what the class is feeling. You can ask questions, true or false questions. You can scroll down a little bit more.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Just so I'm understanding it. So this slideshow allows you to include polls in it. So instead of going out to use Mentimeter, you could just put it all in Pear Deck,
Right.
which allows the students to put in a code and enter their information, or what?
Yes, so the difference between this and Mentimeter is Mentimeter can be anonymous and just anybody can type in and put the number. This, a student actually has to log into their Google Drive or their Google account, and I think it's compatible with a Microsoft account as well. But once they're in and once the students are in here, you as the teacher guide the presentation. They can't click forward and backwards without you doing it. Okay. But you can have questions in here, and like one of them has a drawing. You could ask, like, you know, what does of the lungs look like? And the students can actually draw it on their device. Oh, okay. And you as the teacher, you can put that up so that everybody can see it. So then you present it, and that's how everybody logs into it. So again, oh, this is the drawing one. So see, like they're drawing Saturn, all the students drew it, and the teacher can choose to take one of those and actually present it so the whole class can see it, or they can see it individually like that. So again, it's just a way to kind of take these Google slides and just add these really cool interactive elements into it. Yeah, it's pretty neat. And one thing I forgot to say at the beginning is everything I'm showing you is free. Most of these have a free, especially like these two, for example, they have a free start, and then if you want like the more souped up premium version of it, that is a paid version, but they definitely have all of these are things that are free that you can get started with. So another example of that is Mindmeister, and this is basically a mind mapping tool that I've used in class myself. I'm in school myself right now, and I'm taking ethics in a class in ethics and leadership. And so our teacher, like the second day, said, what is leadership? And then as a class, we started building this mind map, you know, adding, you know, leadership understands, you know, the people they're leading, they understand the knowledge of what it is they're involved in. And we started to piece all these together. And it's just a cool tool for mind mapping. The free version, I believe he has 3 right off the gate that you can use for free. And this is a great tool that you can use for students as an entire class, or maybe you can break them into groups and have them do this, or even just planning out a project, you know, what do they need to do, or an essay, you know, what kind of things do they need to include in it. So any questions so far?
Yeah, they're good.
It's good. Again, if you have questions, feel free to let me know. If you're good, give me a thumbs up. I can't see it anyway, but just, I hope you guys are,
Yes, we do.
I'm assuming you're up thumbing. So our next one is tools that are Google, and we all know Google, we've all used Google, but these are some things that Google has that not many people know about. And the first one is Google Trends. It basically allows you to collect and see data from search engines. So the examples here, you know, these are the states that are looking at Kim Kardashian. These are the states that are more interested in Taylor Swift, football versus American football. And it just gives you some analytics. Here's the recent searches that are going on. You can look at the year in search. So if we click on 2018, we can see what was the top searches of 2018. World Cup, Hurricane Florence, back and all that stuff, Kate Spade, actors. There kind of really breaks down what people searched for in that time period. But you can also do polls of information. So we're going to, since Halloween's coming up soon, we're going to do a search on Halloween. And it'll tell us, so this gives you a rating of 1 to 100. 100 is the most popular. So we know that in between October 28th to November 3rd, Halloween was hugely popular.
Where did it go?
And then right now we're up to today's date, you know, it's starting to come up a little bit. But we can also compare that, so let's say, to the 4th of July. and we'll see what the analytics of that were. So again, nobody cares about 4th of July until it's spiked right here.
And it's not even that popular.
It's not
like
that popular.
the 14.
And then we'll add one more comparison. Let's see how popular Christmas is in search engines. So Christmas kind of starts in October. It really spikes the week of, and then shoots down drastically, and then kind of carries on, and then it'll start shooting up. So
our independence is only a blip.
It's only a blip.
That's really sad.
And then here it'll give you a breakdown what states are looking that information up most frequently, by different regions, and it kind of gives you a breakdown of all of it.
And I don't know if a lot of classes need that type of information, but this would be good for like a fashion or a marketing class.
Right.
Where they want to look at trends and things like that, like what does it look like over time? I don't know.
Exactly.
I really like this.
Yeah, so it's neat. So you can kind of see, just the different, like she said, for marketing stuff, different trends. So that's Google Trends. The second one we're going to look at, somebody have a question? Okay. Second one we're going to look at is Google Arts and Culture. And this one's really cool. Basically, they've brought together paintings and sculptures and all sorts of stuff into this database. And there's a whole lot of things you can look at. They even have collections. I didn't show you this one before. But if you want to look up specific art galleries, you can do that, and they'll kind of go over what's there. So if we looked at the Met, kind of starts giving you information about everything that's in the Met. You can kind of view it and see it and everything there, where it's located. But we're going to look at Google Experiments. And again, this has a whole bunch of stuff in it. This one, if you clicked on this kind of teaches you to draw, if you're a struggling artist, teaches you how to draw different things that they have. Beauty and fashion, as if you're fashion design teacher. This one's great. They have life tags of Life magazine. You can search through all the pictures that Life magazine has, and if you type in again like Christmas or something like that, it'll bring up all the pictures that are tagged by Life magazine. It's really neat. And then my favorite one is this art palette one, and then we'll go ahead and launch that. And so what this one does, and I'll skip the intro here, what this one does is this allows you to search through tons and tons of art pictures by color. So if we want to change this to more of a green, we'll do this one. We'll go more purple here. We'll do red, reddish orange here. We'll keep that at blue. And let's go with more of a turquoise color here. And as you can see, as I put these colors in, it brings up all this art that has those color themes. And I don't have to use, I can add some, I can delete some. I'll get rid of 2 of them. We'll change this to just yellow. And then this one, and in fact, instead of picking the color, I can just pick the hex code. There we go, all black, that's one, sorry, I used one of them. So, so you can put, if you're an art teacher, you can know and just type in the codes, and then it'll pull up again, just tons of art that follows those color themes.
And I think this would be good for like fashion design or interior design, if you have teachers that are teaching those subjects that would do like color theory. I was also thinking about using this if I was trying to decorate my house. Like if my walls are going to be a certain color, then I could put it in there to see what it comes up with, so I can see what colors would match it best.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, so this is Google Arts and Culture. It's experiments, and it's just a really neat thing. So let's move on to the next one. So this is Google's Earth Engine, and we've all been familiar with Google Earth. Raise your hand if you've seen Google Earth before.
All 3 of us.
We're assuming you guys are raising your hands on the other side. It's kind of like when my kids watch like Elmo or something. Raise your hands. So And so what this one does is this takes data from Google Earth, and you can look at like weather patterns. You can see just statistics on how things within the Earth evolve. I really like this one. Kind of tells you different case studies of like tigers. You can see how they migrate, where they're at throughout the world, and it's just really neat how it catalogs it. And this one we're going to look at is the time-lapse tool. And for this, it tells you, you get to see all the images from 1984 through, as of right now, through 2018. They'll probably have next year's up in a few here. But Deidre and I both live in Beaumont, California, which we know is
The new Rancho.
the new Rancho is what everybody calls it. And so here we are, we're traveling to Beaumont.
In 1984.
In 1984, and we're going to see, and our poor computer's working really hard to keep up right now. Okay, so this is Beaumont, and you can see how it's developed over the years.
Soon.
Yeah, and see it was nearly nothing to now it's got all sorts of, let's see, I think I can zoom in a little bit more here.
Hard to see when you're far out. Because if you look at below the major freeway there, you can see all the houses come in.
Yeah.
Like nothing, it's all fields.
Yeah.
And then do-do-do.
And then it all
Yeah.
built up, and then you have like a Best Buy and Walmart and all
Really
that
bad
stuff is coming
traffic.
in.
We don't have the infrastructure.
Yeah.
People are encroaching.
So you can really see how it's developed over the years. And again, it's just a really neat tool to be able to kind of see your area, see where you live, and you can show your students, you know, they can see how it's changed over the years.
And I think you mentioned
Just
earlier,
happened.
teachers have a GIS class.
Yes.
That would be helpful with those.
Yeah, here you have a GIS class or a GIS component of your school. This is a good one. So the next one is the Digital Garage. And this one is basically online classes that your students can take. And when they do have to have a Google account, and when they first log in, they ask like 3 questions, and I can't remember what all 3 of them are, but it's just basically like, you know, what is your level of experience and whatnot. And so this is online modules for just tons of stuff. And so let's view some of the courses that are available. And there's all of these, but let's focus on career development. Since we're all CTE here. And just what do they have for career development? How to land your next job. It's 1 module. It's an hour-long intro to digital well-being, effective networking, business communications, speaking in public.
Which would be really good for high school students.
Yes. Yeah. They can, you know, only 1 module takes an hour. They can do that in a period. Committing your ideas through storytelling, social psychology.
I also mentioned earlier that I thought this might be good for teachers if they have students that are absent and they need to do an assignment on public speaking or how to land that job. Maybe it's something you had covered the previous day. If you have a student absent, maybe you could sign one of these modules. If it's one of the shorter ones, obviously, too, in place of reteaching it.
Yeah, exactly. So here's, this one's for English for career development, 8 modules, 22 hours, created by the University of Pennsylvania, influencing people. So
I think we also saw marketing ones.
yeah, so
Like
I
graphic
just chose
design.
career development. We can go back to all categories. And yeah, they have stuff for digital marketing, business online, promoting your business online. Yeah, there was like digital, doing digital art and whatnot. So yeah, it's a really, really cool version, or really cool system they have of all these classes, you know, that you can take, and they're for the most part pretty easy and quick to do. So that is the Google Digital Garage. And the next one is the Data Graphics Interchangeable Format Maker. GIF stands for. Skip that. And so what this one does is and right now they have these 3, but what you can do is you can just select one of them, and your students can select them, and you can use this to make an animated data chart. So we'll say Deidre's love of seaweed chips is
Negative.
like 1%. My love of seaweed chips is like 0.5. And Christine, we're gonna pretend like you love
I actually do love seaweed.
No way.
seaweed
I do.
chips.
So this is very
That is
real.
But that's more than
gross.
100%. Can you do that?
So you can see,
Oh, you're zero.
yeah, kind of put that together there. I can show you a different one. This is the racetrack version. And again, we'll do our holidays. You know, if your students are categorizing this. 4th of July, say it's 30. And
You have to
then,
put 30 over there.
oh, yeah. Not July 30th, but 30th. And then we'll say Christmas has 60. Oh, this one goes to 100, but it goes all the way. And so you can kind of see the data there, and then if you play it, it'll do this to kind of represent that data. And then your students can, you or your students can save it, download it, and then just plop it into your presentation. This is doing it by percentage. You can also do it by number as well. Play it again. Same thing, just different numbers, and it'll count all of it. So just a neat way to do those fancy data graphics without having to do all the animation, all that kind of the work yourself, and just put it in there and use it. Any questions?
Yes, going back to Digital Garage,
Okay.
would Digital Garage be used more for curriculum or our own organized stuff?
Curriculum.
Yeah, I would say curriculum. Like if you're looking for something, and maybe even supplemental curriculum, like if you're looking for something that they can do in addition to what it is you're teaching, like if you're teaching online business.
I don't know exactly how it works when you go in there, but I was just thinking like, can you do the modules out of order? Or do you have to do the in entirety?
Probably all, let's see, I don't know how far let me get.
7 modules. Can you click on that? Like, sell more online, go down. Can you click on the arrow over there? Will it let you do that one?
Let's check. Yeah.
So it lets you take them out of order. So like, let's say if you had a business teacher and they're looking for content for like an online business class and they're like struggling with it because they were more brick and mortar. If you look through there, like this one in particular, you could have the students, do this lesson, and it would help that teacher build their curriculum.
Right.
So it's not necessarily a replacement, but it could help enhance what they're trying to teach the students.
Correct. And I think it even has, yeah, so it's not even just like they're all reading it. Like some of it is, it's video, and it's, they're pretty cool courses. So hopefully that answers the question. So the last Google one we'll look at today is called Talk to Books. And what this does is this has compiled thousands upon thousands of ebooks. And if you type something in, it'll search through all of these ebooks and pull what it is you typed. So we all know who Walt Disney is. And what this does is now it has brought up every ebook that has that has Walt Disney's name in it. And it goes on and on. The only thing I don't like about this one is it doesn't tell you how many there are. I mean, you can filter what it is you're searching for. If you don't want to do everything, you can say, I just want, like biographies and reference.
Because I was thinking like when you do research and you go into those databases at the university and it takes forever to look through it, if I know what I'm looking for, couldn't I just kind of search that general topic and then see what it would come up with?
So now this is just looking through documentaries and reference books and all that. And then you can even click on it so you can view in the book. And most of them you can't, unless you buy the whole book, you can't read the whole book, but at least give you like where, the part of where it's mentioned, and it'll even highlight it for you. So you can look for it that way. Just out of curiosity, career, technical, education.
It's late.
There we go.
Oh, wait, go back up. Career tech ed,
Mhm.
career and tech. Oh, that's cool.
So these are all books that have mentioned at some point in the book. Career technical education is mentioned within these books.
Gaslighting.
Yeah, graduate programs, all sorts of stuff. So that's it. So that's Talk to Books. Again, just another cool resource from Google. Any questions so far? We're good. All right. So the next one we're going to look at is tools that teachers can use. Some of it's classroom management, some of it's just for your own personal preparations and stuff. And so the first one I want to show you, which again kind of is more so for kids, but for students, but it works really well for classroom management, and it's called Classcraft. And what this does is your students can go in and they can create a character. They can give them a wardrobe and all that kind of stuff. And you as the teacher, what you can do is you can assign projects, or you can assign like classroom participation, you can pose a question, and as the students answer these questions, they get more points, and then the more points they get, your class goes on this adventure journey, kind of a Lord of the Rings type journey, and they can buy like a shield, or they can buy, you know, a cloak and whatnot with the more points you give them. And so it kind of gamifies the entire classroom so that they're going on this adventure together. You know, they create their own character, and you give them points. And again, it doesn't have to be huge things. It could be just they participated that day, you know, you give them 5 points, or they finish their project of the week, they get 200 points, and then they can use that to kind of level up their character, and instead like kind of go on these adventures. The next one is teacher.org, and it's basically just a website for teachers. And what this does is this shows somebody who wants to get into teaching, basically what all of it means. So if you want to get a bachelor's in ed, what could you do with that? If you want to get a master's or a doctorate, you know, what could you do with that? It tells you how to get into teaching for each specific state. Okay, so again, it tells you basically what teaching is in California. What sort of things can you do, how to, you know, pass the CBEST and all that, requirements. And at some point here, I'm gonna go back, there is a way you can even see salaries from different states, like compare them and all that. But the best part of this website, I think, is the teacher discounts.
Oh, yeah.
And if you click to teacher discounts, it'll basically tell you everywhere where organizations offer some sort of discount for teachers. Of course, Lakeshore and Staples and all that.
Big Lots.
Big Lots, and we'll kind of scroll through these. Target has like a 10%, she's writing down, Target has like a 10%. Clothing.
There's a ton of them.
There's a ton of stuff. Charlotte Russe, even Old Navy, I think, is in here. Macy's, Old Navy, you know, offers teacher appreciation during the week of May. Barnes & Noble has 20% discount for teachers.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. You don't have a teacher card there?
No.
I do, yeah, 20%. National Geographic, and so this goes on and on and on and on. Sprint and Verizon, you know, you can get discounts for your phone bills. Best Buy, Bose, I think even music
Home
parts.
Depot? I go
Home
there
Depot.
all the time.
Universal Studios has a deal where you can get a teacher card and the teacher can get in for free.
I didn't know that.
See, you're learning stuff. So anyway, so it goes on. The most important one, if I get to it, Starbucks.
No
there
way.
it is.
What? How do you get it? What is it?
So Starbucks, I think this one is like store specific, but you ask.
It says have received reporting discount. So maybe if I should just say I'm a teacher.
I'm a teacher, they'll give you a discount. So anyway, so they just compile a list of places that will provide some sort of discount for educators. So very cool. So the next one we're going to look at is called Formative, and this one allows you to take all of the paper worksheets and paper assessments that your students do and allows you to upload them directly into their website. And this connects to Google Classroom. And instead of students filling out like a Word packet, you know, with a bunch of papers, they can fill it out here online, and then it will do all of the grading for you. And so at the end, when they're done with it all, it'll tell you what their score is, and then that way all you have to do is take that score, put it into your grade book, and you don't have to thumb through all of the packet that you've created. They do have an ability to upload PDFs and Word docs, and it does give you data on like how your students are doing. You can even see like where they're at in the quiz as they're taking it, but you can also get a history of like how they've been doing in quizzes and, you know, what things are they struggling with. So it gives you some analytics about that as well. So it's just a neat, my wife uses it all the time. She's like the go formative person around here. And this kind of shows you just some of the analytics there. And this is the live stuff. So again, all of your students would be listed on the side. And as they're taking this quiz, you can see where they're at. What question are they on? You know, you can tell, my wife says she can always tell which students have studied because they're moving through the quiz fairly fast. And the ones that are stuck, you usually tell like they've not really studied. It kind of tells you like which ones they've gotten stuck on. And yeah, it's just really neat. A really neat way to do some of this grading and just really see, you know, the assessments of your students. Awesome. Any questions so far?
You're good.
All right. So we got two more to show you. Click. There we go. So this one's called Standards Planner. And this one, log sign here, if I can go real quick. Linking up. So this allows you to digitally create your lesson plan. And so if I wanted to do a lesson today, you know, I could put it in, or if I want to skip it ahead to next week. And not only is it a digital calendar for planning out your lesson, you can add in periods, you know, if you have 5 periods or 6 periods, you can add them all in. And you can see on the left, it's got the times, you know, 11 a.m. and whatnot. And you can also include, if you have stuff in your Google Drive, you can include it. And I think if I click on here, yeah, so this is my Google Drive. It's got CTE TEACH stuff. And I can, if I have stuff on my Google Drive, I can simply just drag and drop it into my lesson. If I want to add a YouTube video, I can do it here. See what Google or what YouTube has on that. If there's a video I like, again, I can kind of drop it in here. And it really allows me to plan what my lessons are going to be. And there's other things, Khan Academy and whatnot. And what I really like, although Deidre and I feel like it's not exactly complete, is you can even include some of the standards. So here's Next Gen Science, Common Core, but we're still missing CTE standards, but we're going to email them profusely to see if we can get CTE standards in here. And so as the teachers are planning their lesson, they can start aligning some of those standards, and they can even share it out. So this is the calendar view. You can also collaborate with other people on it and kind of see what they're doing. And you can send it out to the community and kind of see what everyone's going on. So it's just a great way to keep track of what you're doing every day, but also a great way to collaborate and share.
And it connects all your resources. So like you have a file and you have everything in there.
Yeah.
It's just like kind of like a filing cabinet. Like you'd have your lessons lined up with all your resources, but now you can just do it in one app where everything's connected. That would be great.
Exactly. And so the last one we're going to look at really quick is CommonSense. CommonSense Media is one of my favorite sites, and we're going to look specifically at CommonSense Education. And what CommonSense does is they review also apps, movies, books, all sorts of stuff. And so for this one, we're going to look at their EdTech reviews. We'll look at their top list. And so here's like top games that teach empathy, compassion, summer learning. And let's say we want to kind of narrow it down. We want to pick, you know, what's for health and wellness. Actually, let's do English language. Apps for English language learners. And let's say we wanted to narrow it down even further. I need something specifically for my 9th graders. And so best websites for independent reading, grammar checks, top best ELA tools for high school students. And if we go even further into it, it'll tell us all the apps that fit under this category. And it tells you, this is good for grades 3 to 12. It's free to try.
Oh, my kids use that News ELA at school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one doesn't have any teacher reviews yet, but they go in and they just kind of review it. This one's not as popular, but let's try the one you said they use.
News ELA. That's what I call it. A News
This
ELA.
one?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like news stories
Yeah,
that
this
they
is way
can
more
read,
popular.
and then they have to answer questions about it or whatever.
Yeah, so this one they reviewed it at 5 stars. Teachers give it about a 4-star. It gives you some screenshots of it, but then it tells you like, how can I teach this? What is it? How is it good for learning? And it just gives you a lot of information about it. Then it has the reviews. These are what teachers who are actually using it say about it. And this is just one avenue of just tons of stuff. And so let's say the other part of it that I really like is their films. And again, this is for the parent in me, is if I'm going to watch a movie with my kids, say we want to watch Toy Story this weekend, I'm concerned it might have a lot of profanity in it. So they say it's good for ages 5 up. They gave it a 4 stars, has some trailers for it. This is some of the content that's in it.
Really? Drugs and drinking? Sexy stuff?
I guess.
It's interesting. I'll have to go look.
See what that
You
is.
can imagine.
So this is what parents say. This is what kids say. And what I really like about it is that it also gives you some talking points. How do the characters in Toy Story 4 demonstrate teamwork, empathy, all that kind of stuff? How does Bo Peep change from the earlier films? And they give some great suggestions on how you can not just watch the movie just to watch it, but how you can discuss it as well, at home. And this could work for students as well. If you're going to show one of these films, if you're an animation teacher and you want to show this film in your animation class, it'll give you some talking points that you can discuss about the film and its relevance to that. So yeah, so CommonSense, one of my favorite sites. I actually met them at yesterday and tell you guys that. So good people. Any questions about that so far?
Yeah. If a mentee is resistant to writing lesson plans, do you have any suggestions?
Sorry, say that again.
If a mentee is resistant to writing lesson plans, do you have any suggestions?
So I'm just out of curiosity,
Yeah.
what type of lesson, because I know that we have one that I believe is a CTE TEACH lesson plan, and it's very long. It's like 2 pages long. I made an abbreviated version that's like a page long, because I think less is more when you're first starting out, because I think that 2-page model perhaps overwhelms the teacher. And the 1-page model included all of the 7 parts of the lesson plan, like your input, your anticipatory set, guided practice, and all that. But I would just make sure that the tool you're using to lesson plan is streamlined and straightforward. Because when I looked at the 2-page one that said CTE TEACH on it, it had a lot of information on it. And I think when a teacher's first getting into the classroom, it's a little overwhelming. I know that I was with a teacher yesterday, and we have one that is a weekly planner. So it's like at the top it says lesson, and then it'll say topic or objectives, and then it says supplies, like what do you need to do this, and then there's one more thing on the bottom, I don't remember, but that's what she uses. She doesn't really write out a lesson plan for every day. And I said, well, you don't necessarily need a lesson plan for every single day. And if you have that planned out for the week, however, you might take the day where you're introducing the topic or giving a lot of content and use your lesson plan. That way you can make sure you're hitting all those things. Because just because you get up and you lecture about something for 10 minutes doesn't mean that that's going to be enough for all the students. So if they have a plan that says, how am I going to get them interested? How am I going to guide them through this? How am I going to model it? It's
just, I don't know, I would describe it as kind of a map of how you're going to go through that lesson. But like I said, I don't think you'll need one every day, depending on the length of the subject or the topic that you're covering.
Right.
The one he was referring to specifically was the Madeline Hunter model.
Mm-hmm.
It's a one page that's pretty simple.
And
that's good.
okay, so, and they just,
Well, and I think you kind of have to sell them the benefits of planning for a lesson versus that they just have to do it. They need to know what the benefit of it is. And so I can tell you my first year teaching, I didn't know what I was doing. And it was like my second year teaching, I got tired of trying to figure out, what am I going to do tomorrow? And so if you can start planning your lesson and start calendaring them, then when you get to that next year, you don't have to think, what am I going to do tomorrow? You could look and say, okay, well, here's what I did, and here's what I can do going forward. And then it just makes it all around easier, just getting through your year. Like you said, the map, you know, if I'm driving to Phoenix, which I'm doing tonight, I'm driving to Phoenix and I don't have a map, I don't know where I'm going to end up. I know I'm terrible at directions because I thought I had to drive towards LA, and my wife said, no, we have to drive towards Palm Springs, because we need that map. And it just makes it easier when you're planning.
and another thing, I would encourage them to do lesson plans, because when their administrator comes in to observe them, they're going to expect a lesson plan.
Right.
And it might not be completely correct, but I believe the attempt in writing a lesson plan is better than no lesson plan. And I believe that not using a lesson plan would lead to students not being as successful. So you might have to wait until you see that students aren't to the standard that the teacher expects. And then you can go back and say, well, how did you teach them this? And if they say, well, I gave them the slides. Okay, well, you have students that need other modes of education, like they need to have visuals, they need to have, you know, lecture or a video or whatever, and you're only getting it to them in one way. I mean, the whole idea is a lesson plan is that you're going to touch on all those different learning styles so that everybody can access it. So basically a teacher that doesn't write a lesson plan or maybe doesn't hit all those steps is not providing access to the curriculum to all their students.
Right.
Only to the students who learn in the particular way they're presenting it. So you might try to preface it that way with the mentee.
Right. And then maybe, and we talk about this forever, but maybe one way to start, a simple way to start is just give them a calendar. Say, here's a calendar for next month. Just kind of block out, what is it that you want to do? And then they can start, they don't have to go into depth of standards and alignment and all that stuff, but just like start thinking about, what do I want to do next week? And that's the start of their lesson plan. They'll start working their way through it.
Yeah.
Cool. Any others? Okay. So last slide here is I do have all this information available in a Google Doc that we will share with you. The stuff that's in here. On the left is the link. The middle is the description, basically what it is again, different ways you can use it and what the cost is. Like I said, all of them are free. Most of them they're free, but then if you want like the premium souped up version, that is paid and the prices vary on those. But they do have at least the free version available. And so with that being said, I think we're done. Anything you want to add or need to add?
If anybody joins you after the beginning of the webinar, can you please make sure you enter their first and last name and your district again, so that we can make sure that we take attendance for everyone that is present. We have a difficult time taking attendance just because you do attend in groups, and because everybody's not signing in, there's no way for us to know who all is there. So that's why we require that you fill that out. If you have any questions on any of your invoices, just so you know, the due date for first quarter documents is on the 31st of this month. It's not due on Halloween. And like I said, some of the districts have done a really good job, and it looks like they're pretty close to getting those things finalized. However, I believe there's quite a few districts that don't have anything in there yet. And, you know, we all have 320 hours that we need to spend out. And if nothing's reported for first quarter, we're going to be behind, you know, probably a good 80 to 90 hours that are going to have to be used up at some point. So if you haven't started that, you have difficulty getting in the files, you have any questions, please just reach out to us and let us know. I'm trying to streamline it, make it as easy as possible. So like I said, if you have any questions, just let us know.
Good?
We're good.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. And when we're getting ready for the next one, we'll send that out. And I hope to see a lot of you in, where am I going? Rancho Las Palmas in November. Thanks.
Thank you.